Did everyone get to see the short film Helen? Very charming, but you were dealing with a couple, a rather eccentric couple.
Yes.
And did you find that since you were going in their home as a couple with a couple, that helped the dynamics and helped them expose themselves a little bit more?
I think with our personalities too, I'm from the Midwest, he's from Rochester, which seemed like the Midwest, and we're able to sort of just connect with people on a very authentic human level right away, and then, I don't know, maybe because they were a couple, but I think...
we've never met anyone, sometimes people get really nervous. These are not actors, these are people, and you stick a camera in their face and you start asking them questions. So we've never run across anyone, even the most nervous person that we ever came across, we were like, oh, this could be almost unusable. But over time, and it's a very short time, but you can put them at ease because we're people just like you, and we're just having a dialogue together and exploring, your life through the lens. And I think that really, really helps. And it develops an intimacy that, especially for a film like Helen, we're dealing with people that are really, really detached from any sort of filmic environment. And they're telling a story that's really, really intimate to them and something that was really important to them. And so to let them know that we're on their side and that we're good listeners, and we allow our subjects to sort of ramble off topic for, maybe an hour, in order not to curb that and then gently bring it back around, I think is really, really important. And you get some great, great things that you never thought you would get. And also having your ears sort of open to those possibilities. So when they happen, you're like, oh no, this is the story.
Right, here's a new thing.
We thought it was about this, but no, this is really, really amazing.
A lot of filmmakers in documentaries said, I thought the film was about one thing and it ended up being about a totally different thing.
And we've been able to develop friendships with almost everyone out of every film we've ever done. And it's just, we're just naturally curious about people and psychology and what sort of gets people clicking. So for us, it's just been a really enjoyable experience to learn something new about a topic, to learn something new about a person, put ourselves in situations where we would never go normally, like whether it's a small town or, different type of topic to learn about.
And so now if you're having either a bad day at home and then have to work together, or you've had a horrible day at work and then you have to go home together, how do you mitigate that? How do you negotiate that minefield?
Leave your problems at the door. That's the first rule of professional work. They don't have a room inside. In the theater you learn it, there's just no room. You have to leave it at the door. You can't survive. You can't survive if you carry your stuff into work. And the respect level at our level is so high amongst everybody we work with, you hardly ever see it. People will have a rough day, but you can't come melt down. It's not community theater. It's not high school theater. This is the pros. And you show up and you do your job and you keep it outside. If it does present itself, then you have a little sidebar and you discuss what somebody's going through. But as a couple, we've been there. We've been through migraines and injuries and herniated discs and other issues, and yet that has to, the first rule is leave your problems at the door. There's no room for them. So reinforcing that amongst each other is the moment of, are you okay? Having Melissa with me in North Carolina, and I ended up having 2 surgeries for something going on, but nobody would know it. But she was there behind me. The writer didn't know it. Nobody else had any idea that I was suffering because it's just not okay. And if you do that at the top and you're a unit, it helps. So,
anything yet?
We've never had a bad day at work. I want to know.
Actually, I have.
Your wife seems to disagree.
No, but I just remembered a story where being a couple was a huge asset. Are you thinking?
Oh yeah.
We were making a film for the Audubon Society about a couple in California named Jack and Laura Dangermond who invented I can't remember what it's called, but it's when they
Uh.
layer 3D maps, and they're billionaires, and this software is used
Geographic systems in
Yeah.
imaging, it's
It's
used by
used
every country in the
all
world.
over the world, but they're
To
very,
decide.
you know, Jack grew up on a
A
nursery,
nursery,
his
yeah.
father had a nursery in California, anyway. So we were doing a portrait, they were both getting the award, and our job was to film a portrait of them, and right away, their assistant said, well, Laura doesn't go on camera, ever.
Yeah.
She's behind the scenes.
That's off the table, she's not gonna be in the
Don't even
film.
think about it.
Don't even think about it.
We forgot to mention
should
it
be-
before you got here.
So, but Jack is very comfortable, you can follow him around, and so we started doing that and filming him, and we were talking to Jack, and somehow it came up, and Philip said, well, you know, we're a couple too.
'Cause they work together.
Because they work together. And he said, really?
What is it like?
That's so great. Do you guys want to meet Laura? And we were like, sure. And Philip just kept filming, and we walked into Laura's office, and he said, they're a couple too. And they work together, and Laura was like, are you filming? And we said yes, but she just let us film her, and we got a very nice moment between them on camera. And then afterwards, their assistant was like, you guys walk on water. How did you do that?
No, everyone was like, you filmed.
But it was just really nice that somehow he
Yeah.
really connected to us because of that. And they'd been working together since they were graduate students in Harvard and came up with this software. Anyway.
And also, I noticed a lot of architects are couples,
Hmm.
and work together, architects. But it makes sense, because it's such a all-consuming, around-the-clock kind of thing, filmmaking.
Yeah.
So it's,
And I remember I was in a cast once and I dated someone early on, and then we ended up working together for 10 years, and it was awkward. It was just 10 years of awkward when it doesn't work out, you know? So I can see why people don't work with their former spouses. Does anyone have any questions that have come to mind while we've been talking?
I was wondering, in the film Helen, you had said that that was deliberate misdirection on your part, that people didn't know until the reveal at the end who Helen was. Did you coach the subjects of to avoid pronouns or not to say you didn't, that was his
The only thing that, well, the funny thing is that story directly evolved out of the way that people were talking about Helen. And it quickly emerged that, because when we first moved into our house, they said, you know, don't leave your back door unlocked because Helen might wander in. And so we're like,
who's Helen? Like,
what are you talking
weird
about? Or
maker?
do we need to be worried? Like, who's Helen? And so that really became that insight became the motivating driver for the film. But the only people that we sort of let in on how we were going to try and achieve it was the main couple who had raised Helen. And everyone else, we just sort of told them, like, this is a story about Helen, not anything else. So when you talk about her, just please use her name, you know, and that sort of just drove everything. But the other people didn't have any idea how we were going to treat it.
And they didn't even see the film until yesterday.
Oh.
That was the first
And
time.
we wanted to
all
sort
seen
of like strictly adhere to documentary guidelines, that we weren't going to create anything artificial. We weren't going to sort of fabricate any stories, and so we just interviewed them really straight. And then we just went back and cherry-picked the stuff that would sort of create the narrative of Helen, and it just worked out really well, which is why you get these sort of performances. People were like, well, these aren't actors, right? No, these are our neighbors.
Yeah, we've had film festivals call us and be like, oh, you submitted that into short documentary, but I think you meant narrative. We're like, no, it's a documentary. They're like, what?
Wow.
So,
Any other questions?
As couples, if you have children, do you find you're working with them as well?
We have, potentially, I mean, our goal is to work with the kids as much as possible. We have an entire crew, basically. We've got Lee and Sam, who are filmmakers, actors. One of them is a boom operator. One of them's a musician. We have a makeup artist. We have a stylist. We have,
We have a lot of carnies.
yeah.
And there was a lot of Jeffs you know, Jeff came over and first came up to the house. We lived about 40 miles apart in Michigan, and he said, you know, it was about that. It was about his boys now have a commercial company, and Ben does sound, and Lucas, who is the B camera operator, had never been on a big camera on the film. He wanted us to use our kids. He wanted us to use the family to keep it mom and pop. And it was a big drive behind it. And they were great. And, you know, it was, my son and I had one argument outside of work, but at work we had none, and he did a Herculean job shooting this thing in 7 days. And all the way from the stuff we shot in New York of the Broadway district, and you know, we had one thing, and that was just more through our history than anything else, and we were right back at it the next day. So working with our family, keeping it all inside easy, I think is the best. I think not having to push a boulder uphill like these guys, don't have to put just the two of them. It sounds so dreamy. The idea of where it bogs filmmakers down is the effort it takes to get it up and out and shot, right? And how much do you need money? Do you need a script? Do you need people? All of those things, with each one you eliminate, you make it much easier to, you know, you're pushing the boulder. These guys are just kicking the rock off the hill and it's going. They still have stuff to consider and think, but if you can be down to two, there's only one better than that, and that's one. So if you can do that, you're gonna have a cleaner vision. And if you can get to family outside that, and if you can incorporate people that you know and love that have been around and know your environment, I think it's better than strangers. And we all work really well, and our kids have been around pros, and I liked it, and Jeff liked it, and Melissa, we all got a chance to be with our kids.
Any other thoughts on family dynamics and how it affects your work? I feel like there's something going on here that's not being said.
Yes?
What do you think now?
Actually, based on what Melissa was talking about, I also find that you form a family on a set. You're describing, you know, your work when you were young, so there's blood relations, but and Tim, you referred to the same thing. You know, it's kind of horizontal, less you do this, you do that. So I think there's a director I worked with once, and very intimate film also, and he referred to it as fictive kin. So it's the people who you bring.
Well, you create a family for sure, and our editor edited the three things we've made, and I love. She's like family, and I give a tremendous amount of freedom to them. I love the whole idea, and you do create a family on a set. That's the thing when you get into one of the things that's so frustrating for us are the guest directors that come into your life when you're on a TV show. And they come in and they want to make their movie, and they go really slow, and they labor through the process. And you're thinking, this is episode 100 for us. My kid's homesick, that guy's wife just died, the camera operator, his wife is about to have a baby. We come with a plan, go, get it done, and let's get out. And not losing anything. I think the energy of everybody moving forward, never better exemplified than on Little House on the Prairie. Michael Landon paid everybody for a 12-hour minimum on their day and would work them for 8. So the crew was in heaven. Rather than the industry norm, pay them for 8, and then everything goes into overtime after 8, right? So people are like, what are we doing? And I don't want to, but he guaranteed that. And the family environment that he created helped it have longevity. Shot faster than anybody's ever shot. Didn't shoot what Melissa learned as smotherage. Not lots of coverage, which is the TV way. Shoot 15 hours, give the producers, the writers, everything they have to go edit it down to 41 minutes. And everybody's on pins and needles. So I think the family environment is paramount. I love that. And I love